Hi there folks, another San Diego Comic-Con has come and gone, and in its wake it has left a ton of news stories that need to be talked about. And a bunch of destroyed San Diego real estate. Seriously, after every Comic-Con I just picture the city looking like New York after the Avengers movie. Yes folks, there are far too many news items to talk about from San Diego Comic-Con this year, so instead of doing a video about everything, I am just going to do this Thorgi's 10 video in which I talk about my 10 favorite news stories coming out from San Diego Comic-Con, and I place emphasis on personal, on my own personal favorite. Listen, I'm not talking about the biggest stories coming out from it, because everybody has already talked about all those things to death. And if you've watched my channel long enough, you know that there are some things that were huge at Comic-Con this year that I personally didn't really care for that much. So yes, I am sorry if I am leaving out anybody's personal favorite story from this year, but you guys can talk about that down in the comments. I always read through those and I want to hear what you have to say, so let me know what your favorite story was down in the comments below. But for now, here's my number 10. At number 10, we finally got the trailer for Ash vs. Evil Dead. And I already made a trailer reaction video about right there. You can just go ahead and click on it right there. Alright, just gonna give you guys some time. Alright, that should be enough. Get it out of here. But to sum up, I don't want to repeat myself, so just to sum up, I love Evil Dead. I do. I love the whole Evil Dead franchise. It was one of the first horror films I really got into. And we've been hearing about them doing something for TV forever. And it's finally happening. It is finally coming out, and I watched this trailer, and yes, I did have some problems with it, but for the most part, it gave me a lot of those same vibes I got. Like, a lot of those same vibes that I was missing. It hit those nostalgia buttons, so I'm cool with it. Plus, it's got Bruce Campbell back, and he's the king, baby. At number 9, Joss Whedon is returning to comics with his own creator-owned property called Twist, which is about a Victorian-era Lady Batman, as he put it. Which sounds pretty cool, and Joss Whedon wrote one of the best X-Men stories of all time, so that dude knows comics. And just looking at what we see here, I love the design of it. This world he's setting up sounds really cool, and Joss Whedon, he loves to write strong female protagonists. I love to read his strong female protagonists, so that's what this looks like it's going to be. So alright, moving on. Next up, at number 8, Marvel over the past few weeks has been revealing all the titles that they're going to be putting out for their all-new, all-different Marvel. They gave out a free magazine that had all of them in there, or so we thought. Some of us went through and counted that and went, wait a minute, you said you were going to have 50 to 60 books, and I'm only counting 45. So clearly, there's some more books on the way. And they did indeed reveal a couple new books at their panel at San Diego Comic-Con, including Squirrel Girl is coming back, which, thank goodness. Squirrel Girl is one of the most fun books out there. I love that series. It is so great. And also, whenever kids come into my store and it's like, hey, I want to start reading comics, especially little girls when they come in and want to start reading, that's the perfect book to give them. I love giving kids that book. So, great. I'm so glad to see that that is coming back. Also, we got a new Blade series, which is going to star Blade's daughter, named Fallon Gray, and this sounds pretty cool to me. I mean, I never would have pictured Blade as being a dad, and they say that's exactly what this is going to be. It is a father-daughter experience. And I was like, holy cow. Vampire slaying and father-daughter bonding. Wow, this sounds interesting. I definitely want to check this out. They also revealed that there's a new Spider-Man book coming out called Spidey, which is meant to be an all-ages Spider-Man book that is in continuity, which again is great, because Spider-Man is one of those books that when kids come into my store, they're like, I want to start reading Spider-Man. And I'm like, okay, most of the Spider-Man books, I don't know if they're appropriate for your age. So it's great that I'm going to now have something that is in continuity, that is an official Marvel comic, that I can give right to them. Perfect, love it. Then of course, that's not all for Spider-Man. There's going to be a Spider-Man Deadpool team-up miniseries, which, that's all people want. Whenever people want a team-up between Spidey and someone, it's Deadpool. So perfect, great, give us that miniseries, looks good. And the last thing, we didn't get a title for this one, they just gave us a little sketch. But it looks like there's a new Devil Dinosaur series coming on, which also looks like it's going to be an all-ages book because it's like some little girl finds Devil Dinosaur and it becomes her pet, and that sounds pretty cool. That sounds adorable to me. So yeah, I definitely want to read all of these. But that's not the only new Marvel series that's coming out. At number 7, there's a Chewbacca miniseries coming out. Marvel, you're blowing my mind with your Star Wars books, alright? If you had asked me before you start putting any of these books out, who I thought you would be giving Star Wars titles to is like, okay, Han, Luke, maybe Boba Fett, I don't know, those are my guesses. And we've gotten Princess Leia, great. Lando, didn't see that coming, but awesome. And now Chewbacca? Wow, you guys are going, no, we're going to build this world. We're going to go, who's in the world that never got enough exposure? Give them a book. Give them a backstory. Give them an origin. And Chewbacca, here's my question. Are you going to have him have internal dialogue? Like, of course, all of his external dialogue is going to be, I can do a better one than that. There we go. But of course, all of his external dialogue is going to be that. So my question is, after he says that, are you going to put like the little asterisk next to it, and then in a little bubble, it's going to like say what he just said? Or are you going to do that weird little thing where you have the little like arrow things? I don't know what these are called, but any comic book fan knows that when you see this around a word, it means that they're speaking a different language and they're just translating it. So are you going to translate, or are you going to give him an internal monologue? And we're going to get like the inside of his mind and like his internal thoughts. And when it comes to the internal monologue idea, here's my question. You gotta remember, this will be the first time that you ever really truly give Chewbacca a voice, that you get inside of his head, at least in an in-continuity story. So whatever you write for him, whatever personality you give him inside his head, that is it. That is canon. That is how Chewbacca will be acting. That is how we will all look at Chewbacca and go, that is who that person is. So are you going to have him be like a rough and tough bounty hunter? Or are you going to have him be very wise and mature to kind of contrast Han Solo? Or is his internal dialogue just going to be, I don't know, but Phil Noto, who may be my favorite comic book artist of all time, is doing it, so I am all aboard on this. Next up, at number 6, we have a crossover that I never even thought about happening, but the moment I heard it, I was like, that actually kind of makes sense. It's going to be Batman and a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover. Wow. First off, I love that DC and IDW are finally teaming up on some stuff. We have currently going on right now the Green Lantern Star Trek series, which, when you hear that, it's like, oh yeah, that actually makes perfect sense. And then again, Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, yeah, both of them are guys, they fight in the dark shadows of their city. So yeah, they're both ninjas. Makes perfect sense to me. I don't know who your villain is going to be in this. More than likely it's just going to be Joker again, which, if it is, are you going to have like Joker get some mutagen on him and he's just going to turn into the big toxin Joker from the end of Arkham Asylum? Because, yeah, don't do that. But if I had to take a guess, this is a perfect storyline to have Killer Croc be your villain. And then you have him team up with like Leatherhead. This would be amazing. Go with that. I totally want you to go with that. But there's a lot of great potential for the crossover with this, especially when it comes to your villains. I mean, just think about it. You got Bane, and Bane powers himself up with that Venom, which is a green mutagenic fluid. You combine the Venom with mutagen, suddenly Bane is now gigantic, and they both have to team up to stop him. Or, you know, Shredder gets his hands on the Venom, and all of his foot soldiers are now powered up. You have Bebop and Rocksteady get someone like the Joker laughing gas him, and now they're weird, creepy versions of themselves. There's a lot that you could do with this. Maybe I should make a top 10 all about that. That'd be dope. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments below. Now at number 5, you guys know I love The Flash. I love that show so much, and we got it confirmed in season 2, we're getting not only Zoom, but also Jay Garrick. Now Jay Garrick, they cast someone young as him, and you know, I wish they had gone with the whole history of the speedsters thing, which he had been around since the 40s and all this, but I understand why you wouldn't want to do that, because then Barry probably would have heard of this guy. If there was a speedster out there already, someone would probably have known, so it makes sense that he's going to be an alternate reality character, but I do always love the idea of Jay Garrick existing in the past, so if you do the alternate reality storyline, I would love it if Barry goes into this alternate reality and it is the 1940s or the 1950s, and it is set back in that time. You know, you got Jay Garrick, he's with the JSA. I would love to see that. I doubt it's going to happen, but you know, I can hope. And then when it comes to Zoom, I don't know what they're going to do with that, because I don't want to spoil too much for anybody who hasn't seen the season finale, but I don't know how Zoom's going to get out of that. And also, he was called the Reverse Flash in this, so it makes me think, okay, there's going to be something different about him being Zoom. In fact, maybe it's not going to be a future version of Zoom. Maybe it's not going to be one of the Thawns. Maybe it's going to be a current day Zoom. Maybe it's going to be Hunter Zolomon, who honestly, listen, nothing against the Thawns. They are evil SOBs, but I always really preferred Hunter Zolomon. I like that little psychotic, I will make you a better hero kind of mentality that he had. So we just have to wait and see on that one, but I'm looking forward to both these guys. At number 4, the impossible is happening. Rom, the Space Knight, is returning to comics. What? He's just called Rom? They lost the rights to use the word Space Knight? Oh, the impossible is happening! Rom, the metal robot from space, is returning to comics. Also the Micronauts, but I had a feeling they were going to return at some point in time anyways, but Rom I thought was gone forever. Now, a little history lesson for anybody out there. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, Marvel was just buying up whatever property they could get their hands on to make books about, and they bought a ton of the toy properties from Hasbro. They bought up G.I. Joe, and pretty much everything you know about G.I. Joe, Snake Eyes, Duke, all those characters, Scarlet, every single character you love from G.I. Joe, Marvel invented in their comics. But eventually they lost the rights to it, and everything they created went back to Hasbro. Transformers, they bought the rights to Transformers, and everything you know and love about Transformers was created by Marvel in those comics. The Autobots, the Decepticons, Optimus Prime, Megatron, they were all created by Marvel. And then Marvel lost the rights to them, and everything they created went back to Hasbro. And one of the other toy properties they bought up was Rom. And when they bought Rom, they created everything for him again. They created the Space Knights, they created all of his villains, and just like with those other properties, they eventually lost the rights to Rom. But unlike those other properties, they held on to everything else. They held on to the name Space Knight, they held on to all of his villains, they somehow were able to hold on to everything that made Rom who Rom was, but they just couldn't keep using Rom, which was a very weird situation. But Rom the Space Knight was one of the most critically acclaimed series that Marvel was putting out at that time, so everybody's been like, why can't we have Rom back? And Rom is now returning, just not to Marvel. Seriously, why are you not giving this to Marvel, Hasbro? That seems weird. But they're giving it to IDW, which IDW's motto is, do you remember this from your childhood? We're gonna make a book about it. Because they're the ones who make Star Trek, they're the ones who make Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the current Jim and the Holograms comic, Transformers, G.I. Joe, they make all those. So, they're now going to be making a ROM book, and it's curious, because like I said, they finally get to bring ROM back, but they can't bring back any of the stuff that made ROM what ROM was. So, dude, I seriously don't know how I feel about this. I'm putting it up this high because it is big news. It is something that makes me go, oh god, I gotta see how this goes. But at the same time, I don't know how it's gonna go. Seriously, it's like if someone wanted you to make a burger and then they just gave you the bun and said, alright, go in the kitchen, make yourself a burger. By the way, you cannot use meat, cheese, lettuce, tomatoes, ketchup. You can't use any of that stuff. But every single other thing in that kitchen is fair game. And then you're gonna walk out with like a s'more burger and it's like, well, maybe it's gonna be great, maybe it's not. Man, I make the weirdest metaphors on this show. Let's move on to the next thing. At number 3, we finally got to see the Apocalypse trailer. Kind of. I finally got to pirate the Apocalypse trailer. Yes, I did see a super shaky cam ass version of this trailer, but I still got to see everything in this trailer, and, you know, I'm going to have a different opinion when they finally release the version that we, the public, are supposed to see, but from what I saw of this, I'm pretty excited. I am. I mean, I really enjoyed that last X-Men film. I think that the X-Men are finally back on track, so I was going to be excited about this no matter what, but seeing this made me go, okay, I'm still on board. I am still excited about this. Nothing in this trailer dissuaded me, including Apocalypse looking like a Power Ranger villain. Yes, we have all heard that. We all know. I still think he looks okay. And if you want to know more about my reaction to the trailer, once again, check out my trailer reaction video. It's right there. I cover pretty much everything that was revealed at Comic-Con, so go ahead, right there. Alright, cool. But for anybody who doesn't want to click on that video, I'll just go ahead and sum up my view on it, which is basically that this looks epic. It looks like it might be the biggest X-Men film of all, and I honestly think it should be the last X-Men film. Don't get me wrong, you can still make movies about Gambit, and Storm, and Magneto, and every single one of these other characters, or all the other X-Teams, X-Factor, X-Force. You can make movies about all of them. However, this looks like it will indeed be the biggest X-Men film. You guys gotta go out on top on this. You can't keep bringing Hugh Jackman back for another 3 films. This is it. At number 2, this year DC finally put out that Multiversity book that they had been talking about forever, and it did not disappoint. I gotta say, when it comes to Grant Morrison's writing, sometimes it's brilliant, sometimes it is crazy, drug-induced gobbledygook that makes no sense. This one, okay, sure, there was a tiny bit of the crazy drug-induced gobbledygook that made no sense. However, the rest of it, the other 90% of the series, was genius. And I love alternate realities. I love it so much, and this one reinvigorated the DC alternate realities. When they put out that booklet that just listed all the alternate realities, That was a dream to me. That is everything I want in comics. I wanted to read about every single one of those alternate realities, and guess what? I'm going to get to actually do that because they're going to be launching Multiversity 2, spelled T-O-O, which I don't know if there's a significance to that, but they're going to be launching it, and it's going to be one-shots that are all just guides to these alternate realities. I cannot wait, because as I looked through that guidebook, I was like, I want to read about that, I want to read about that, I want to read about that. Now I'm going to get to. That is awesome. So you might be asking yourself, if I'm that excited about that story, what could possibly be bigger? What could I possibly be looking forward to more? Yes, Legend of Korra is coming back. It is coming back, and I'm super excited about that because I love that show. That show was one of the best animated series I've ever seen. It's easily in my top 5. So I am so happy to see that the creators of that show are coming to the comics and are going to be like, no, we're going to continue these adventures. And that is great for multiple reasons. Number one of which being Nickelodeon, don't get me wrong, Nickelodeon allowed a lot of stuff to happen in that show. Nickelodeon allowed them to go further in that show than I've seen almost any cartoon on television go. But you could also tell Nickelodeon was like, alright, pump the brakes for a second. Now it's just them. Nickelodeon doesn't own this anymore. It is just them on the comics. They get to do whatever they want, and it's very important that it is starting after the show ended because we all know how it ended. We got our first actual lesbian couple in a cartoon series, which, if you've watched my channel long enough, you know that I am all about promoting representation. That I am all about, listen, we need more comics that are just not about straight white dudes. Alright, and don't get me wrong, that's coming from a straight white dude. So the fact that the creators of Legend of Korra were actually willing to do that, I applaud you guys. I applaud you guys so much. That was amazing that you guys did that. And the fact that we are now going to get to see that continue to grow and develop and mature in the comics, that's perfect. I love seeing that. But also, we get to see everyone else return in this. Mako, Bolin, Beifong, Tenzin. We get to see everyone come back, which is great to me because, I'm not gonna lie, Legend of Korra has probably my favorite supporting cast of any series I've ever watched. So yeah, I am so excited to see all those guys return. I want to see their stories grow and develop. In fact, I wouldn't even mind a second series coming out that's just prequels. That is all just a look back at, like, say, Tenzin and Beifong when they were kids. I want to read that book too. I want to read about the final days of Aang. I want to see all of this. All of this sounds amazing to me. Oh my goodness, make it happen, Dark Horse. But yes, those were my top 10 stories from San Diego Comic-Con, and as always, I want to hear from you guys. I said this at the beginning of the show, but I will just repeat myself. What was your favorite story to come out from San Diego Comic-Con? Leave that in the comments down below. But if you want to see more from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I post up fun, geeky stuff every single week on this channel, whether it has to do with comic books, movies, video games, anything like that. And if there's anything you want to ask me or want to get in touch with me, make sure to follow me on Tumblr and Twitter. There's the address right there. And make sure to click some of the videos at the end of this to see even more fun stuff from me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and come back next time.